It's been difficult, a little bit disappointed in myself the way I've been affected by it. Not going to training on the Wednesday, but
Must have been serious if you took a couple of days off work. I mean, if you couldn't, if you didn't feel like coming in. How bad was it?
It got to me. It was pretty bad. It was the worst I've probably been. Family and friends were worried about me, and it's not easy for me to sit here and say that. But I'd say this: I had to seek help. And as I said, I'm disappointed in myself.
Counselling.
Yeah. And but I'm disappointed that I let myself be affected by it so much to show that sort of weakness. And I convey that to the boys. I know I'm stronger than that. I know they look to me for leadership, and I let them down. But in all honesty, I think me having gone to training that day probably would have been worse than me not going. That's the sort of state I was in.
All I heard is it's one player that's disgruntled because he's challenging him and getting him to play in the structures that the team needs.
Which player?
And he's still got play. And then
which player?
Mate, you guys know.
Well, you tell us.
As much as me. It's number 9.
Robbie Farah.
That's right.
Right.
And then and then for a year and a half he's been talking behind, saying, mate, like that he can't coach and that, and they've been trying to get him out of there. It's as simple as that.
Well,
and it's sort of embarrassing that one player has the power over the whole board.
And Gordy, let me ask you, if you believe they are, do you know who's conveyed them to you? Because
Robbie
they are
Farah told me to my face, I don't go on anybody else's. Robbie Farah told me to my face when I was at Triple M last year on a Saturday show. So he told me that Michael Potter can't coach. He told me. I'm not saying I don't go on Chinese whispers. I go on what he told me. Okay, so that's what he told me. So then Robbie's telling me to get my facts right. My facts come out of his mouth.
All right, well, this whole matter escalated on the Friday after the big win against the Bulldogs. Gordon Tallis, commentator on Triple M, has gone on radio and made some certain statements.
Yeah.
Now, what he said was, virtually paraphrasing, that the number 9 for the Tigers was undermining the coach, that you and the coach weren't getting along, that you weren't playing to structures, and that you were really the driving force behind these rumours that were suggesting Mick Potter's time was just about up.
Yeah, I was sitting here and got a couple of text messages from friends and turned the radio on to hear it, and I was really disappointed. I've known Gordy for a while, considered him a mate. I messaged him straight away. I let him know that I was disappointed in what he said. And he replied, and there were a couple of messages that were exchanged.
Friendly?
He knew I wasn't happy, and he obviously tried to defend himself. And then I sent him a message trying to paint a picture for him as to what was going on at the club. I told him that the players have asked to stay out of this. If he wanted answers to go to the board, our job was to focus on winning. And I said to him, you look at our game last week against the Bulldogs, and I don't think he could say that what he saw was a team that wasn't going out there to support their coach. And I conveyed that in a message, which he didn't reply to. And then after that, I texted him again. I said, listen, mate, what I'm disappointed in the most is that you could have come to me and asked me about this before you've gone away. But I've said my piece. Feel free to call me if there are any other issues. And I didn't hear back from him after that either.
So after that communication you had with Gordon Tallis, he then came out on Sunday and said that he was basing his comments and his statements on a conversation that you'd had with him last year. Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, not clearly. Triple M couldn't get hold of me, obviously, because I was on my way to the game. So for one reason or another, they thought it was a good idea to get my manager on the phone. And my manager went on to defend myself and asked Gordy to name his source for these allegations that he made on the Friday night. So instead of conveying to everyone what I'd said to him in text messages on Friday night to try and defend myself, he felt the need to, he felt he was backed into a corner, and felt the need to go back 15 months ago when what I thought was in a private conversation that I conveyed my frustrations to him about the predicament we found ourselves in as a club at the time. We were struggling. We'd lost half a dozen games in a row. I get pretty emotional at times, and I don't take losses too well. And looking back, I probably shouldn't have said what I said. I probably conveyed to him that the coach was struggling, the playing group was struggling. Things weren't going too well at the club. And as I said, I thought it was a private conversation. Obviously, it wasn't. But yeah, that's a disappointing. But I can assure you and everyone else that whatever I conveyed to Gordy at the time, I also conveyed to Mick. Me and Mick have a really open and honest relationship. I'm always giving him feedback on how to improve. He's always giving me feedback on what he needs from me and how to improve as a captain. And there's no issue there between us.
So Gordon Tallis was right. You did have a conversation 15 months ago, but it's been brought forward into this context where the coach publicly is under pressure, and you're seen as the person that's undermining the coach.
Yeah, I as I said, that's the most disappointing thing is something I said 15 months ago over a beer or whatever it was. That's got nothing to do with what's going on at the moment. There's no doubt Mick Potter's improved as a coach. I think he'd be the first to put his hand up and tell you that. And for Gordy just to, I guess, come out and assume that what I said 15 months ago had something to do with what was going on today is just completely wrong.
Mick Potter lives downstairs from you, don't you? You live in the same complex.
Straight under where we're talking right at the moment.
Yeah, you socialise together?
Yeah, we go for coffees weekly. Again, as I said, to discuss how we can get better as a group, individually how we can get better. We play tennis occasionally, although
you beat him?
He's getting it's getting pretty easy to beat him. So he's got to improve his skills before he comes back for another game. But there's no problem between myself and Mick. We have a really good working relationship. As I said, we're very honest and upfront with each other, and we know we've got to be to try and improve this club.
On the Sunday before the Dragons game, Channel 9 cameras, dressing room cameras, picked up you and Mick Potter going for a private conversation in the dressing room. Now, I guess in the context of what had been in the papers that day and everything we now know, you could read a lot of things into that. What actually happened in that meeting?
I came in the sheds and I was pretty emotional. And that day before the game, I got in the sheds and Mick could see I was pretty distraught. And he had every right to be distraught himself. He was a guy with his head on the chopping block, apparently, that morning. But he pulled me aside and took me into the room and calmed me down and told me that he needed me to be at my best today. He said the boys needed me, and he said that I don't want to go out there and play poorly, and be the reason why he gets sacked that night. Yeah. So he asked me to go out and give it my all, and it was a really good chat. It brought me back down to where I needed to be. It got me focused on the game, and I promised him I'd go out there and give it my all, and I'd like to think I did. Any time I go out there and play for the jumper, I leave nothing in the tank, and that day was no different. And I was really appreciative of the chat that Mick gave me before the game.
So basically, it was a kiss and a cuddle and a cry together to get ready for the game.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
See, like the scuttlebutt around rugby league, there's rumours everywhere. When Tim Sheens got the sack, everyone said Robbie Farah was behind that. When Benji Marshall left the club, everyone said Robbie Farah was behind that. Did you get rid of Tim Sheens?
Oh, no.
Did you get rid of Benji Marshall?
No, not at all.
Are you agitating for the removal of Mick Potter?
No, God, no.
Since that weekend, where it was rumoured that Mick Potter was gone on the Sunday, got a reprieve on the Monday, there was a meeting on the Tuesday, and they've decided to let him go till the end of the season. But out of all this, it appeared as though you'd been left holding the bucket here as the man most responsible, and you felt as though you'd been left out to dry on this issue. Do you feel as though you've had enough support from management, or that management have completely explained the situation at the Tigers with the coach?
No, I don't. I haven't heard from our CEO since the Sunday night after the Dragons game. I messaged him I spoke to him after the Gordon comments on Friday night, and I asked him to come out strongly on the Saturday to support the players because we were getting dragged into a situation.
You must have spoken to him this week because you didn't get to training and you've had a game in the meantime.
No, haven't heard from him.
Going back last week, it was also reported that you had done an interview on the Saturday morning after the Gordon Tallis Friday night comments. And in that interview, which was going on the club website, you had actually praised Mick Potter and you had actually supported him. It's been well reported that part of the interview didn't make its way onto the club website.
On the Friday night, I asked Grant to come out and support the players. I asked him to come out and say something to support us and leave us out of it. That didn't happen. On the Saturday morning, Mick called the leadership group in. Obviously, he was concerned with what was going on as well, as he had every right to be. He asked us if we had his support. He had our support, sorry. And we all assured him that was the case, that he had our full support, the whole playing group. And then I had media straight afterwards. So I went out, conveyed that message to the media as well. But the last bit where I come out to support Mick, was edited from the Tigers website.
Were you told why?
No.
I suppose it wouldn't have looked good on the website if the captain was supporting the coach on the day that the board had intended getting rid of Mick Potter. Is that one explanation?
That's something you have to ask Grant Mayer and management.
So since that time, you have appealed to management to divorce the players from the coaching situation?
This was a while back.
Have you ever gone to management or coaches or to the board and said, we need a new coach?
No, not
Any one of the players ever gone to management and board and say, we need a new coach?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And you've tried to keep the players out of that process?
Yeah, as a playing group, as I said, we spoke about, just worrying about what we can control, and that's winning footy games. And we knew that if we can go out and win footy games and make the semi-finals, that was going to give Mick the best chance possible of being our coach again next year. And that's all we were focused on. We spoke to management about that, and they said that the line from us, if asked, would be that we're focused on winning footy games, and anything else would be referred to them.
So as far as you're concerned, it's up to the board of directors and the management of the club to determine who the coach is going to be for 2015 and onwards.
Well, that's the way it works, isn't it? Players aren't there to pick a coach. That's what management get paid for. We're there to play football. And at the end of the day, that's the decision they got to make. And as players, we support the coach no matter who it is. If Mick gets the job again for next year, he will have our full support. If it's another coach, we got to get on with the job and continue to do what's best for this footy club and try and win games.
There was talk that the coach was under review, Mick Potter. You were aware of the review that was going on at the Tigers at the time?
Well, there was a mid-season review that went on during the Origin period. I was the last person to get interviewed in that process after Origin, so and I was reluctant to get involved into that. But that review took place. I've never seen the review. I've never seen the outcomes of it. None of us have ever heard of it or seen it, so I'm not too sure what came of it.
You say neither you or the players know what was in that coaching review, yet it appears the media knows what was in that coaching review. Who leaks all this stuff out?
I think that's one of the biggest problems with our club is, for one reason or another, there's people up top leaking stuff to the media. I'm not too sure why, whether it's for their own interests, whether there's still those Balmain West factions fighting against each other. I'm not too sure, but it definitely doesn't help when you've got stuff apparently being leaked to the media, whether they're true or not. But it's something that definitely needs to be fixed, for us to move forward.
I'd guess too that from a media perspective, you're sort of the go-to guy. I mean, there's no one else really to go to get explanations of what's happening at the West Tigers.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. People are always coming to me for answers, and I just want to worry about football. They're asking me questions on management and things going on and decisions to be made, but that's not my job. And my job is to try and captain the footy side on the field to the best of my ability. And they're looking for the wrong place in answers. If I'm not there making these decisions, they need to go to the decision makers for these sorts of answers. And at the moment, I just feel like all that pressure's being heaped on me.
You said that this had affected you greatly, and you actually apologised, claiming it was weak. Surely you can cut yourself some slack. This would be fairly stressful for you, being accused of the person single-handedly trying to undermine the coach, when obviously that's not the case. Yeah,
it took me a few days to realise that I had nothing to be worried about, because I knew I'd done nothing wrong. But and I've been through worse in the past, but this got to me. And as I said, I felt like I showed weakness because, as a captain of a footy club, you've always got people relying on you, and especially young kids. We got a young group there, and I should have been better for them, and that's why I apologise to them. I knew that I let it get to me when it shouldn't have gotten to me that bad, but for one reason or another it did. I had Tigers fans abusing me, abuse coming from everywhere. Different sorts of articles being written about me, and it's not nice, and it got to me. And the Tigers fan things, that hurt me. I've been at the club for my whole life, and I care about this club just as much as anybody out there, and to hear those sorts of things wasn't nice, and that really affected me a lot.
So if I get this right, you've tried everything you can not to be a part of this process, yet you found yourself as the face of it and the one most responsible.
Gus, looking back over the last week, I think that's probably what hurt me the most, is that I tried so hard to stay out of this process and not get dragged into it. And as a playing group, that's what we wanted. But somehow I've been embroiled in it when I wanted nothing to do with it. It's been disappointing for me and for Mick. Neither of us have enjoyed it. It's obviously affected everyone. But now I've said my piece. Obviously I've sat back for a while and haven't said anything. As I mentioned, I didn't want to talk on emotion. But now I've said my piece, and hopefully everyone can just bury the hatchet on it, put it to bed, and move forward. And hopefully the Tigers fans will stick by us. We've got a coach that's doing his best, a playing group that are trying to do their best, and there's a lot of positivity around the club, and we need the fans to stick by us, and we'll get through this, and we'll be stronger for it.
So you as a player, you've now got, 3 years left on your contract?
3 more years.
There were some suggestions last week you'd even said, get me out, I've had enough, I can't stand it.
At times, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Everything came down on me pretty hard, and I thought, is it all worth it? I even messaged Mick and I said, mate, maybe I'm not in a position to captain this club at this point in time. But, having the emotion out of it now, there's no doubt that I love this club. I'll defend this club to the death. I don't want to be anywhere else, and I'll keep giving my all for this club. I'm not walking away.